At the end of every day, I'd get to my room and I'd be so sad. I wouldn't have any friends. I wouldn't have enjoyed the day. And I realized like I need to make some good mates like I had back in my hometown. And so when I started to do this, I would start to try and like hang out with a few people, but a lot of people wouldn't come that often, like, or they would be like, oh, sorry, I'm busy. And it would just be so hard to organize something. And it took a long time, but I did end up eventually, at the gym. This guy saw my YouTube channel. He was also somewhat a content creator. He had like hella followers on Instagram. And we'd spoken before, but then he started to respect me for like trying on that YouTube shit, seeing me in the gym working so hard. And we ended up becoming really good friends. But I want to compare this to this time that I met one of my really good friends. A different really good friend. Completely different scenery. I was in Hong Kong. For some backstory, I was on a night out on Wednesday where basically we all, like everyone my age, goes to this specific area in Hong Kong, and everybody goes there. You're drinking, you're talking to all these people, you're talking to girls, you're having a great time. And we were doing this kind of thing quite often. I was with my closest friends, like the friends who I'd grown up with, who were coming out with me now, and we had amazing time together. Our jokes were completely in sync. But the Thursday, I woke up early and we decided to go to the gym with one of my different friends. And there's this guy on the left of the gym who's like this really jacked guy, a bit intimidating. And I called out to him in the middle of my conversation. I was like, yo, what's up, bro? What do you think about this conversation we're having right now with my other mate? And from that point, we started to chat a bit more. And I just ended up saying, do you want to go get lunch after this? We ended up sitting down, eating lunch together, even though it was our first time like ever properly speaking. And we had spoken like a year before for like 5 minutes, here and there. But it was ages ago, he was just as scary. He was a new guy. He didn't say hi when he walked in the gym. It turns out this guy is a legend, bro. I've been hanging out with him all holiday. He's one of my favorite mates to hang out with because he's always down for something. He's always funny, like he's always in a good mood. And he's just respectable. Like he's not lazy. He just knows how to have a good time. He works really hard. I respect him. He's pretty reliable as a friend. I'm Finn, and I help young guys make really good friends. By the way, if you want my step-by-step guide on how I would do that, click link in the description. But the thing with this guy that was really special, that I realized you can meet so many people so quickly when you're getting in that social flow. I remember it took me like half a year before, in my mind, I was like, yeah, I need a good like right-hand man in Australia, someone I really mess with. And if this guy, the guy from Hong Kong, the gym guy, if he was in Australia and we were friends, he would have been my right-hand man. Like, I got along with him so well. The thing is, bro, when you're struggling and you're lonely, it's hard to make new friends because you don't have like that perfect energy where you meet people and you're super happy unless you like kind of put it on a little or you work on it. Whereas in Hong Kong, I was just already going out. I already was with all my good friends. I wasn't lonely. I felt fucking amazing. And then when you can invite people in on that energy, you just meet friends, so many people that you respect, that you like, and you end up building like a really good friend group of people who you would individually be super close with like if they were in your life when you were still lonely. But now that you're popular, it's like you just got so many mates, you just got so many options, and it's not like your friends are an option, you value them individually. It's just that it was so much more simple to meet those friends when things were going your way. And I think that's something really important for you to realize. As soon as you make one great friend who, like somebody genuinely, like a genuinely special connection you have with a friend, you're going to start making loads of friends for the rest of your life. This friend can't just be, being best friends with like some guy who's not loyal, who's a loser, he would stab you in the back to become more popular. That's not a fucking real friend. That's the problem. I could have been friends with people like that at school, hung out with them all the time, but I thought they were fucking losers, bro. So I was in this weird phase where nobody really respected me who I respected, who weren't losers, or I just thought they weren't hardworking enough. Or on the other end, I fucking thought they didn't do any work and they respected me, but I didn't respect them. So I was in this weird position where I couldn't be friends with the losers or the popular kids because I didn't respect either of them, and only the losers respected me. So what I ended up deciding was the best move was I needed to make some friends outside of school. It's easier outside of school. You know, you go to the gym, you say hi to some people, you start getting a gym bro. That's much more simple. It was hard for me because I was at boarding school. Anyways, it ended up changing. And as soon as I became like really good friends with the guy that I was talking about, who took like a long time in Australia to get close with, all of the sudden things started to click together for me. You know, I'd have boys that I would sit with for a few hours at dinner. And the thing is, throughout this whole period, I had one really close mate who was like in Australia. I had this one really good friend. But I don't know why the same effect didn't quite happen where I would start meeting everybody, but I think it was because he wasn't in my year level, so it's not like he could introduce me to his friends or anything. You know, there's this one guy who I thought he was a fucking cunt, if I'm being honest. Like, he was a bit of a shit bloke. I didn't really respect anything about him. The only thing he had was he was popular at school, which I didn't value because I can wholeheartedly honestly say I'm popular here where I live. Like, I've got a lot of friends. People are really nice to me. I get invited to a lot of parties. But this guy, you see, the problem is he was a dickhead and he was really out of shape. He had parties though every few months, and all he did was he would just provide some value, you know? And like, I'm sure that he was nicer to his friends, but people literally said about him, like, yeah, the only reason people are nice to him is because he throws parties. Which I can fucking understand, bro, because he wasn't a nice guy to me for a very long time. I can see how nobody would actually fuck with him. But basically, he still got away with it. People still invited him to parties and were quite nice to him. Just because he was throwing a lot of parties and no one wanted to get left out of those parties. The really big parties, the only guy with super chill parents and a massive farm. So that made me think, why not just become the guy that people want to be friends with? When I had social like presence, you know, I'm getting invited to these parties. You can see on my Insta, I'm going to events. People would love to be friends with me. But I am also a good bloke. And that gives me the opportunity to meet people who I really respect, who, like, okay, maybe for example, the friend that I met in the gym in Hong Kong. He, at first, didn't know Hong Kong as well. Like, he went out, but he didn't like, what's the word? He wasn't like a going out guy. He didn't go out nonstop. And at first, I brought him on a night out, showed him like kind of what it's like. It's not like he'd never been out, you know. He probably went out when he was old. He's older than me. He's probably been out. But like I showed him, you know, this side of Hong Kong where I know everybody's gonna be here. I know this is a good place to go, and we ended up having a great time. And I think that it really helped that I had like a good level of social presence because when he saw that a lot of people knew me, he could see like, oh, I can respect this guy. Like, he has some value that I could get from him. That's probably what's going through his mind. And you don't need to think about this in like a weird way. It's just in the back of everybody's mind when they're talking to each other, you know? It's unfortunately just the way human nature is. You want some value from somebody else. Now, the good thing is this value doesn't need to be like, oh yeah, I want his money. You know, it can just be like, oh, I like hanging out with him. He makes me laugh more. But you're never ever going to be friends with somebody who makes you more upset about yourself, who doesn't give you any money, who doesn't improve your social status. You're never going to want to be friends with somebody like that. So just become the guy who works on that himself. And the cheat code is to just become like popular in your area, in your school, in your city. And if you want to know how I did that, click the link in the description because I promise you I have some knowledge that I haven't shared openly. There is a lot of really good value on my YouTube videos, but I have the step-by-step guide in my course. So click the link in the description if you're interested and have a great day.